Warning. The following podcast contains adult languages and mature subject matter intended for adult audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to episode 11 of Rancid Readings.
The day later after the one we did.
It is the
26th.
spooky October 26th. Oh, you know what I just realized?
You shut your whore mouth! You be quiet! I hate you so much!
But Sunday,
Shut up!
it's Halloween.
I'm actually concerned about really hurting you.
I didn't think I'd offend you that much by
Okay.
fucking referencing fucking moon people.
Now I'm no longer concerned about hurting you. Because I want to hurt you.
Are you having fun?
Yes.
Okay. That's good. That's good. That's good.
So we're gonna read more of R.L. Stine's magnum opus, my Hairiest Adventure.
We're gonna try.
We can do it.
All right. If you remember last time, Larry found instant tanning lotion and rubbed it on his fucking entire body. And instead of getting a tan, his hands got really hairy. And he's really worried that people are going to call him Hairy Larry if they find out, so he's not telling anyone. Mm-hmm. So, chapter 10.
He just got tripped in class.
Yes. And he was like about to get up and be like, hey, you tripped me. And then he looked down and he's like, oh, fuck.
There are hair on my hands.
I shaved that shit off, but it's back. What am I gonna do? I was like, well, Larry, you're gonna be a stupid little shit is what you're gonna do. Okay, chapter 10. Larry, are you okay? I heard Miss Schindling call from her desk. I was too stunned to answer. Larry, are you hurt? Well... I couldn't speak at all. I couldn't move. I couldn't think. Crouched on the floor, I stared in horror at my hairy hands. Above me, I could hear kids still laughing about how Howie had tripped me. I glanced up to see the kid next to Howie slapping him a high five. Ha ha. Very funny. Usually, I'd be totally embarrassed. But I didn't have time to be embarrassed. I was too scared. Had anyone seen my hairy hands? Still down on the floor, I glanced quickly around the room. No one was pointing in horror or crying out. Maybe no one had caught a glimpse of them yet.
Oh.
Quickly.
What a difficult life Larry lives.
I know, right? Quickly, I jammed both hands deep into my jean pockets. Pockets. That's a thing.
That's a thing that you just said.
Shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
Go ahead.
You are why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, I know.
You're the one who ruins everything that I've ever loved.
I know.
My life sucks because of you.
All right. As long as you've,
You're the worst dinosaur I've ever known.
Okay.
When I was sure that both hands were completely hidden, I climbed slowly to my feet. Look, Larry is blushing, someone called from the back row. The room exploded with laughter. Yeah, look, Larry's doing that one thing that he's known for.
Blushing.
I mean, by this point, you'd think the kids would be like,
oh, it's Larry,
a thing that happens.
blushing.
Like,
yeah.
all right, sweet. Of course, that made me blush even redder. But blushing wasn't exactly my biggest problem. There was no way I could stand in front of the class with these two hairy hands. I'd rather die. Without even thinking about it, I started hurrying back up the aisle to the classroom door. With my hands jammed into my jeans, it wasn't easy to walk fast. Larry, what's wrong? Miss Schindling called from the front of the room. Where are you going? I'll be right back, I managed to choke out. Are you sure you're... He has never said he was okay.
No.
He's just like, are you sure you're okay? As this kid, like, fucking runs away. No, he's not okay.
Not okay.
Obviously, he never attested he was okay. Are you sure you're okay? The teacher asked. Yeah, fine, I mumbled. Be right back. Really. I knew everyone was staring at me, but I didn't care. I just had to get out of there. I had to figure out what to do about my hands. As I reached the door, I heard Miss Schindling scold Howie. "You could have hurt Larry. You shouldn't trip people, Howie. I've warned you before." "But Miss Schindling, it was an accident," Howie lied. I slipped out the door, into the long, empty hall. I checked to make sure no one was around to see me. Then I pulled my hands from my pockets. I had a dim hope that maybe my hands would be back to normal. But that hope vanished as soon as I raised them to the light.
Oh, no.
Thick, black hair, nearly an inch high, covered both hands. How could it grow so fast? I wondered. The backs of my hands were hairy, and my palms were hairy too. Hair poked up from the knuckles on my fingers, and clumps of black hair grew in the space between my fingers. I rubbed my hands together as if trying to rub the ugly hair away. But of course, it didn't come off.
Oh, no.
"No, please, no," I moaned out loud without realizing it. What could I do? I couldn't go back to class with these hairy monster hands. They would make everyone sick. I would be embarrassed for the rest of my life. Whenever anyone would see me coming, they'd say, "Here comes hairy Larry Boyd. Remember that day the black hair grew all over his hands?"
What a horrible thing.
I'll run home, I decided. I'll get away from here.
Not that there is hair coming out of his hands, but the embarrassment.
The embarrassment is the worst
of
part.
hair coming out of his hands.
Well, I mean, he's like 12, right?
Well, fucking whatever. Like, if I was 12, I would think I'm turning into a werewolf, which, if
You
I
would
were a
be
normal 12-year-old...
Super stoked about.
Yes, but let's ignore that.
You'd be stoked now.
Yes, but let's ignore that. And pretend that I was a normal 12-year-old.
You have never been a normal anything.
No.
You are closer to a normal dinosaur.
Yes.
I'll run home, I decided. I'll get away from here. No. How could I leave school? In the middle of the sentence ends, have to turn the page. The morning. Miss Schindling was waiting for me to return and give my book report. I stood frozen, my back against the tile wall, gazing at the hideous hands. And I suddenly realized that I wasn't alone in the hallway. I glanced up and gasped when I saw Mr. Forsberg, the principal! He was carrying a stack of textbooks, but he had stopped a few feet away from me, and he was staring in shock at my hairy hands!
Oh, no!
So spooky!
I'm so scared of
I'm
this
spooked.
kid's hairy hands.
This is too spooky for me.
Chapter 11. I swung my hands down and tucked them behind my back, but it was too late. Mr. Forsberg had already seen them. His blue eyes narrowed as he studied me. I shuddered. What was he going to say? What was he going to do now? Is it too cold in the building? The principal asked. Huh? I replied. What was he asking? I leaned back against my hands, pressing them against the wall. Even through my shirt, I could feel the prickly hair all over them. Should I have the furnace turned up, Larry? Mr. Forsberg asked. Is it too cold? Is that why you're wearing gloves? To class? Gloves? I stammered. He thought I was wearing gloves. Yes, I was a little cold, I told him, starting to feel a bit better. That's why I went to my locker for gloves. He stared at me thoughtfully. Then he turned and headed the other way, balancing the stack of textbooks in both hands. I'll talk to the custodians about it, he called back. I breathed a sigh of relief as he disappeared around the corner. That had been a close call, but he'd given me a good idea. Gloves. I hurried to my locker. Turning the dial on the combination lock felt strange with my hairy fingers, but I opened the locker easily and pulled out my black leather gloves from the pockets of my parka. A few seconds later, I stepped into the classroom. I stepped into the bathroom is almost what I said. Lily stood at the front of the class giving her book report. She glanced at me curiously as I slid back into my seat. When Lily finished, Miss Schindling called to me at the front of the room. Are you okay now, Larry? She asked. Yes, my hands were cold. I climbed out of my seat and stepped quickly to the front of the room. Some kids started to giggle and point at my clubs, but I didn't care. So you are so concerned about being embarrassed now? Kids are making fun of you because you're wearing gloves inside because you're a freak. And it's okay, he doesn't care.
Larry don't give a fuck.
At least no one could see my hands with the ugly black fur sprouting all over them. I took a deep breath and started my report. This was a book I read about Bruce Coville, I began, and I recommend it to anyone who likes funny science fiction stories. Oh, it's funny because he, read it like that other kid did.
Yeah, it's the exact same intro.
After school, I hurried to my locker. I kept my head down and tried to avoid everyone. I'd worn gloves all day. They were hot and uncomfortable. They seemed to grow tighter and tighter. I wonder if the black hair on my hands was growing, but I was too afraid to take the gloves off to check. I tugged on my parka and slung on my backpack over one shoulder. I have to get out of here and think, I told myself. A few steps from the front exit, I heard Lily calling my name. I turned and saw her chasing after me. She was wearing an oversized yellow sweater pulled down over bright green tights. I kept walking.
Ew.
Yeah.
Ew.
So she looks like a flower.
8-year-old... Oh, God, yeah, like a bad sunflower. This is how human beings dressed in the 90s. Oh, God, that is how human beings dressed in the 90s. Remember the 90s? I try hard not to.
I kept walking. Catch you later, I called back to her. I'm in a hurry. But she came running and stepped up to me in front of me.
Oh, shit, Lily stepped to you.
Aren't you
Gang war.
Aren't you coming to band practice, she asked. I was so upset about my hairy hands that I had completely forgotten.
I was hoping for a gang war, I'm going to be honest with you.
It's at my house again this afternoon, remember? Lily continued, walking backwards as I made my way to the doors. I can't, I stammered. I don't feel very well. That was the truth. She stared hard at me. What's your problem, Larry? How come you've been so weird all day? I just don't feel well, I insisted. Sorry about the practice. Can we do it tomorrow? I guess, she replied. She said something else, but I didn't hear it. I pushed the door open and hurried out of school. I ran all the way home. The sun beamed down on the snow, making it gleam like silver. It was beautiful, but I couldn't enjoy it. I was lost in my own troubled thoughts, thinking about hair. Thick patches of black, spiky hair. I burst into the house and tossed my backpack onto the floor. I started up the stairs to my room, but stopped when I heard my mom call my name. I found her in the living room, on the chair, by the front window. She had Jasper, our cat, in her lap and her cordless phone up to her ear. She said something into it, and then lowered it as she raised her eyes to me. Larry, you're home early. Don't you have band practice? Not today, I lied. I have a lot of homework. So I came straight home. Another lie. I didn't want to tell her the truth. I didn't want to tell her that I rubbed Instatan all over myself and I was now sprouting disgusting black hair. I didn't want to tell her. But it suddenly burst out of me. The whole story. I just couldn't hold it in any longer. Mom, you won't believe this, I started in a tiny choked voice. I'm growing hair, Mom. Really gross. Black hair on my hands, you see. You see, my friends and I, we found this old bottle of tanning lotion. And I know it was really stupid, but we poured it all ourselves. I rubbed it all over my face and my hands and my neck, and now I'm growing hair, Mom. In school today, I looked down, and both my hands were covered in black hair. I'm so embarrassed, and I'm scared, too. I'm really scared. I was breathing hard as I finished the story. I've been staring at the floor as I told it. But I raised my eyes to see my mom's reaction. What would she say? Could she help me?
It's like a smart decision, tell your mom shit. That's how you solve problems when you're 12. Chapter 12. I heard her mumble something, but I couldn't understand the words. Then I realized that she wasn't talking to me. She had the phone pressed to her ear, and she was talking into it. Mom had gone back to her telephone conversation. She was concentrating so hard she hadn't heard a word I had said. I let out... So this kid, bares his soul to his mom. He's very obviously, really upset, and his mom's just
whatever.
Nah. Great.
It sounded like he was yell stuff.
Yeah, he was yell stuff. Thank you.
And then she just didn't notice.
No, she's just not paying attention to her weird hairy son. I let out an annoyed groan. Then I spun around and hurried up the stairs to my room. I closed the door behind me and tore off the hot, uncomfortable gloves. Jasper had run upstairs and perched on the window seat. She spent most of the day on the window seat in my room, staring down at the front yard. As I tossed the gloves onto a chair, she turned to me. Her bright yellow eyes glowed happily. That doesn't sound happy.
No. Glowing eyes are just
No. I crossed the room and picked her up. Then I sat down on the window seat and hugged her. Jasper, you're the only real friend I have, I whispered, petting her back. Mm-hmm. To my surprise, the cat let out a squawk, arched her back, and jumped to the floor. She ran halfway across the room, then turned back, her yellow eyes glaring at me.
So that's a thing that cats do. Welcome to life, Larry.
Yeah, like, welcome to owning a cat, fuck. It took me a few seconds to realize the problem. I held up my hands. It's these hairy paws, isn't it, Jasper? I said sadly. They frightened you, didn't they? The cat tilted her head as if trying to understand me. Well, they frightened me too, I told her. I jumped up and hurried across the hall to the bathroom. Once again, I pulled my dad's shaving equipment from the medicine cabinet. I set to work shaving off the thick hair. It wasn't easy, especially trying to shave off the tufts of hair that had grown in the spaces between my fingers. That hair was really hard to reach. Also, obviously he's not using an electric razor. So, using a Bic razor to shave off inch-long hair is actually ridiculously time-consuming.
Hard.
The hair was stiff and tough, like the bristles on a hairbrush. I cut myself twice on the palm and back of my right hand. The palm is not where you should be cutting yourself. That's way thicker skin than the back of your hand. As I rinsed the shaving cream off, I glanced down and saw Jasper staring up at me from the bathroom door. Don't tell Mom and Dad, I whispered. She blinked her yellow eyes and yawned, like a cat does. The next morning, I awoke before Mom and Dad. Most mornings, I lie in bed and wait for Mom to shout out that it's time to get up. But this morning, I jumped out of bed, turned on all the lights, and stepped up to my dresser mirror. Would I find new hair? I held up my hands and checked them out first. My eyes were still heavy from sleep, but I could see clearly that the hair had not grown back. Yes! I cried happily. The razor cuts on my right hand still hurt, but I didn't care. Both hands were smooth and hairless. I turned them over and gazed at them for a long while. I was so glad they looked normal. I had dreamed about hair during the night. It had started out as spaghetti. In the dream, I was sitting in the kitchen starting to eat a big plate of spaghetti. As I started to twirl the noodles on my fork, they instantly turned to hair. Long, black hairs. I was twirling long, black hairs onto my fork. The plate was piled high with long strands of black hair.
Ew.
Then I raised the fourth forkful of hair to my mouth. I opened my mouth. I brought the hairy fork up closer. And then I woke up.
Ew.
Yuck, what a gross dream. I had felt really sick to my stomach, and it had been hard getting back to sleep. Now, at last, it was morning, and I continued my inspection. I leaned over and checked my feet, then my legs. No black clumps of hair, no weird fur growing anywhere.
Too bad you're gonna be a teenager someday, Larry, and that will happen to you.
Yeah, and that's just a thing. You gotta deal with that.
You're a dude. It's okay to have hair.
I guess it's safe to go to school, I told myself happily. But I'll be sure to keep my gloves handy. After breakfast, I pulled on my coat, grabbed my backpack, and headed out of the house. It was a bright, warm day. The snow glistened wetly. The sunshine had started to melt it. I stepped carefully around puddles of slush as I walked along the sidewalk. I was feeling better. A lot better. In fact, I was feeling really good. This kid's easy to please.
Yeah, he's like, I feel good because I don't have hair in my hands and there's the sun.
50 seconds from now, I'm going to feel bad.
Yep.
Then I turned and saw that pack of dogs.
Oh, there we go.
Snarling dogs. Heading right for me.
My heart jumped up to my throat. The dogs were running at full speed, their heads bobbing up and down, their eyes trained on me. They barked and growled furiously with each bounding step. My legs suddenly felt as if they had weighed 1,000 pounds, but I whirled around and forced myself to run. If they catch me, they'll tear me to pieces, I told myself. They must smell Jasper on me. I decided that must be why they chased me. I loved my cat, but why did she have to get me in so much trouble? Who owned these vicious dogs, by the way?
I thought they were strays.
Why were they allowed to run around like this? Questions. They flew through my mind as I ran across yards, then across the street. A car horn blared. I heard the squeal of brakes. A car skidded toward the opposite curve. I forgot to check the traffic before I crossed. Sorry, I called, and then I kept running. A sharp pain in my side forced me to slow down. I turned and saw the yapping dogs racing steadily toward me. They crossed the street and kept moving over the snowy ground. Closer and closer. Hey, Larry! 2 kids stepped up to the sidewalk ahead of me. Run! I screamed breathlessly. The dogs! But Lily and Jared didn't move. I stepped up to them, holding my side. It ached so hard I could barely breathe. Lily turned to stare down at the dogs, as she had done before. Jared stepped out to meet them. All three of us watched the dogs approach. Seeing the three of us stand together, the dogs slowed to a stop. Their snarls and growls stopped instantly. They stared back at us uncertainly. That's not that. That's not the way you say that. They were panting hard, their tongues drooping down nearly to the snow. "Go home," Lily shouted. She stamped her shoes hard on the sidewalk. The big black dog, the leader, uttered a low whimper and hung his head. "Go home," all three of us chanted. The pain in my side started to fade. I felt a little better. The dogs weren't going to attack. I could see. They didn't want to tangle with all three of us. They turned and started to trot away, following the big black dog. Suddenly, Jared started to laugh. "Look at that one," he cried, pointing to a long, scrawny dog with black, curly fur. "What's so funny about that one?" I demanded. "He looks like Manny," Jared declared. Lily started to laugh. "You're right, he does." All three of us laughed. The dog had Manny's curly hair, and he also had Manny's dark, soulful eyes.
Dark, soulful eyes.
Come on, we'll be late. Oh no, my beer!
What have you done? Oh my god! You're a mess!
What happened?
You probably put it down too forcefully, and because it's carbonated, it spewed everywhere.
I like that we're recording this. I'll cut it out, maybe.
I thought you would have paused that.
I tried to, but I was too slow on the uptake.
Too drunk. You're a mess.
Go get
what
a
have
towel.
you done? Oh my god, you got fucking beer everywhere. You're fired. I'm gonna find a better dinosaur who doesn't ruin my apartment.
Get a towel.
Get your mom.
Don't get my mom.
She'd just kick our ass. And that is tough.
I really wanted to drink that beer.
There's still like 99% of it left.
Okay, let's continue. Sit your ass down, pigeon. As I find my place. Oh, I put my bell in it.
There we go.
Okay. "He looks just like Manny," Jared declared. Lily started to laugh. "You're right, he does." All three of us laughed. The dog had Manny's curly hair and soulful eyes. "Come on, we'll be late," Lily said. She kicked a hard clump of snow off the sidewalk. Jared and I followed her toward school. "Why were the dogs chasing you?" Jared asked. "I think it's because they smelled my cat," I replied. "Those dogs are mean," Lily said a few steps ahead of us. They shouldn't let them run wild like that." "Tell me about it," I replied, rolling my eyes.
Larry.
A sharp gust of wind nearly blew us backwards on the slippery sidewalk. Jared's Raiders cap went flying into the street. A station wagon rumbled past, nearly running it over. Jared darted into the street and snatched the cap back. "I'll be glad when this winter's over," he muttered. We met Christine in the front of the school. Her red hair blew wildly around her head in the swirling wind. "Do we have band practice this afternoon?" she asked. She was chewing at a Snickers bar. "Great breakfast," I said sarcastically. "Mom didn't have time to make eggs," Christina replied, chewing. "Yeah, practice at my house," Lily said. "We've got to get to work. We don't want Howie to win the contest." Christina turned to me. "Where were you yesterday?" I didn't feel too well," I replied. That reminded me of the Instatan lotion. "Were any of my friends growing hair too, because of the suntan gunk?" I had to know. I had to ask. But if they weren't growing hair, if I was the only one, then I'd be totally embarrassed. Remember that Instatan stuff?" I asked quietly. "Great stuff," Jared replied. "I think it made me paler." Christina laughed. "It didn't work at all. You were right, Larry. The bottle was too old." "Look at us," Lily added. "We're all as pale as the snow, but that stuff didn't do anything." "But are you growing weird black patches of hair now?" That's what I was dying to ask. But none of them said anything about growing hair. Were they like me? Were they too embarrassed to admit it? Or was I the only one? I took a deep breath. Should I ask? Should I ask if anyone was sprouting hair? I opened my mouth to ask, but then stopped when I realized that the subject had changed. They were talking about our band again. Can you bring the amp to your house? Lily asked Christina. Manny will bring his, but it only has jacks to plug in 2 guitars. Maybe I could bring mine, I started to say, but a gust of wind blew my parka hood back. I reached up to pull the hood back on my head, but my hand brushed at the back of my head and neck, and I gasped. The back of my neck was covered with thick hair.
Dun, dun, dun!
Chapter 14.
Larry, what's wrong? Lily demanded. I couldn't speak. What's wrong with your scarf? Jared asked. Is it too tight? He tugged at the wool scarf around my neck.
Idiot.
The scratchy scarf my mom made me wear because my great aunt Hildy had knitted it. Hildy is like one of the most old lady names I've ever heard. I apologize if any of our 3 listeners are named Hildy. I had forgotten I was wearing it. Then my hand brushed against it. I thought... You looked scared to death, Lily exclaimed. Are you okay, Larry? I nodded. Yeah, I'm okay, I muttered, feeling my face go red. The scarf was choking me, I guess. What a lame lie. But I had to say something. I couldn't say that I had mistakenly thought my neck had sprouted fur. Larry, you've got to stop thinking about hair, I scolded myself. If you don't, you'll drive yourself crazy. This kid's already nuts.
Yeah.
I shivered. Let's go inside, I said, wrapping the wolf scarf tightly around my neck. I hurried to the boys' room to brush my hair before the bell rang. You fucking narcissist. Gazing at my wavy blonde hair in the mirror as I brushed it, I had a horrifying thought. What if my real hair suddenly fell out?
No.
And the gross, prickly black hair grew in its place? What if I woke up one morning and my entire head was covered in that disgusting black fur?
What a terrible thing Larry must go through.
Larry's worried that one day he might not be pretty.
Oh,
Yeah.
So he's like Bella Swan.
What?
Yeah, because she was like, her biggest fear is that she'd be like not pretty someday and Edward wouldn't want her.
You know, your biggest fear is she'd get old and he'd be like, you're not 18, but I'm still 18. Because Bella Swan was never, like, really pretty. She was just kind of...
Fucking whatever. I only saw the movies, okay?
Movies are stupid. We're not going to have this conversation. Edit this out. Edit it out. Edit it out.
Okay.
We're not going to have me fangasming about Twilight on this podcast. You're not going to edit it out,
Fucking go!
I took a long look at myself in the mirror. Someone had smeared soap over the glass, and my reflection appeared to stare back through hazy white streaks. Shape up, I told myself. I pointed a finger at my reflection. A smooth, hairless finger. Plot twist, Larry's like halfway through he becomes a swimmer, and he loses because he keeps growing all his hair, and it shaves like milliseconds off his time. Stop thinking about hair, Larry, I instructed my reflection. Stop thinking about it. You're gonna be okay. The Instatan lotion has worn off, I decided. It had been several days since my friends and I had splashed it on ourselves. I had taken at least 3 showers and 2 baths. 3 showers and 2 baths over, like, a couple of days? Jesus.
Good.
Wore off, I told myself. It's all gone. Stop worrying about it. I took one last glance at my hair. It was getting pretty long, but I liked it that way. I like brushing the sides back over my ears.
Oh my god, Larry, shut the fuck up about your hair.
Maybe I'll let it grow really long, I thought, and tucked the hairbrush into my backpack and headed to class. I had a pretty good day until Miss Schindling handed back the history term papers. It wasn't the grade that upset me. She gave me a 94, which is really good. I knew that Lily would probably brag that she got a 98 or a 99. But Lily was great at writing. A 94 was really excellent for me. The grade made me happy. But when I flipped through the pages, glancing over Miss Schindling's comments on my writing, I found a black hair on page 3.
Oh no!
Was it my black hair? I wondered. Was it one of the disgusting black hairs that had sprouted on my hands? Or was it Miss Schindling's? Miss Schindling had short, straight black hair. It could be one of hers. Or else... I squinted at the hair, afraid to touch it. I knew I was starting to get weird. I knew I had made a solemn vow that I was going to stop thinking about hair. But I couldn't help it. Seeing this one stubby little black hair stuck to the 3rd page of my term paper gave me the shudders. Finally, I raised the term paper close to my face and blew the hair away. I didn't hear a word Miss Schindling said for the rest of class. I was glad when the bell rang and it was time to go to the gym. It will feel real good to run around and get some exercise, I decided. Basketball today, Coach Rafferty shouted as we filed into the brightly lit gym. Basketball today! Change into your shorts! Come on, hustle!
I love this kind of gym teacher. Reminds me of my youth.
Sad part is it does remind me of some of our gym teachers.
Yep.
I usually don't like basketball that much. There's so much running back and forth the entire length of the floor. Also, I don't really have a good shooting eye. And I get really embarrassed when a teammate passes me the ball and I miss an easy shot. But today, basketball sounded just right. Chance to run and get rid of a lot of my nervous energy. I followed the other guys into the locker room. We all opened our gym lockers and pulled out our shorts and t-shirts. At the end of the row of lockers, Howie Herwin kept shouting, "In your face! In your face!"
What a faggot.
Another guy snapped a towel at Howie. Serves him right, I thought. Howie is such a jerk. "In your face!" I heard Howie chant. Someone shouted at him to shut up. "In your face, man!
Oh
In
my
your
god,
face."
Howie,
Like,
shut
fuck,
the
what
hell
is this
up.
kid even freaking out about? I sat down on the bench and pulled off my sneakers. Then I stood up and started to pull off my jeans. I stopped when I got the jeans about halfway down. I stopped and let out a low cry when I saw my knees. Bushy clumps of furry black hair had sprouted from both knees.
Shut up, Larry. Fucking hell.
Chapter 15.
Chapter 15. How come you keep your jeans on in the gym? Jared asked. His question caught me by surprise. It was the next day, and we were walking along the slushy sidewalks, lugging our instruments to Lily's house for another band practice. You refused to change in your gym shorts, remember? Jared said, swinging his keyboard case at his side. I was just cold, I told him. My legs got cold, that's all. I don't know why Coach
You run in jeans.
Yeah, I don't know why Coach Rafferty gave me such a hard time. It's because it's frickin'... You can't run in your jeans, that's why. Jared laughed. Rafferty nearly swallowed his whistle when you sank the three-point jump shot from mid-court. I laughed too. I am the worst shot in school, but I was so crazed over my hairy knees, so totally pumped, that I played better than I ever played in my life. Maybe you should wear jeans all the time, Coach Rafferty had joked. But of course...
Until you need to, actually move.
It was no joke. I ran all the way home and spent nearly half an hour locked in the upstairs bathroom. Pardon me. Ugh. Goodness. I ran all the way home from school and spent nearly half an hour locked in the upstairs bathroom, shaving clumps of black hair off my knees. When I finally finished, most knees were red and sore, but at least they were smooth again. I spent the rest of the afternoon closed up in my room, thinking hard about what happened to me. Unfortunately, all I came up with were questions. Dozens of questions, but no answers. Sprawled out on my stomach on top of my bed, my knees throbbed as I thought. Why did my knees grow hair? Why did the ugly black hair sprout there? I didn't spread any Instatan on my knees. Had the Instatan worked itself into my system? Had the strange liquid seeped into my pores? Had it spread through my entire body? Was I going to turn into some big hairy creature? Was I going to look like Hong Kong or something? Questions, but no answers. The questions still troubled me as I crossed the street with Jared, and Lily's white frame house came into view on the corner. The sun beamed down over the two bare maple trees that lined Lily's driveway. The air felt warm, almost like spring. The snow had melted a lot in one day. Patches of wet grass poked up through the white. In the yard across the street from Lily's house, a half-melted snowman looked sad and droopy. My high top splashed through the slushy puddles as Jared and I carried our instruments up the driveway in terror. I'm so scared of the terror. Lily opened the door for us. She and Christina were already practicing. Lily was wearing a bright blue skis, blah, blah, blah. I don't care what these kids are wearing. Where's Manny? Lily asked, closing the front door. I haven't seen him, I replied, scraping my wet sneakers on the doormat. Isn't he here? He wasn't in school again today, Christina reported. We've got to get serious, Lily said, biting her lower lip. Did you talk to Howie today? Did he tell you what his dad bought him? A new synthesizer, I replied, bending to open my guitar case. Yeah, Howie told me all about it. He says it can sound like an entire orchestra. Well, fucking Howie's full of shit, and no fucking keyboard will sound like an orchestra.
Yeah, fuck Howie.
Who wants to sound like an orchestra? Jared asked.
I don't know a fucking orchestra.
He had a wet leaf stuck to his shoe. He pulled it off, but then he didn't know where to throw it away, so he put it in his pocket. Good. That's such a kid thing to do. If Howie sounds like an orchestra and we sound like 3 guitars and a kitty keyboard, we're in major trouble. It's not a kitty keyboard, Jared protested. I laughed. Just because you wind a crank on the left side doesn't make it a kitty keyboard. It's small. But it has all the notes, Jared insisted. He set the keyboard on the coffee table and bent down to plug it in. Let's stop messing around and get to work, Christina said, moving her fingers over the frets of her shiny red Gibson. What song do you want to practice first? How can we practice without Manny, I asked. I mean, what's the point?
Yeah, what's the point? We have, 2 other guitars.
I tried calling him, Lily said, but his phone is messed up or something. It didn't even ring. Let's go to his house and get him, I suggested. Yeah, that's a good idea, Christina agreed. All 4 of us started for our front entryway to get our coats. But Lily stopped at the door. Larry and I will go, she announced to Christina. You and Jared stay here and practice. Why would we all go? Okay, Jared agreed quickly. Besides, someone should be here in case Manny shows up. With that settled, Lily and I put on our coats and headed out the front door. Lily's Doc Martin splashed through a wide puddle as we made our way along the sidewalk. I hate it when the snow gets all gray and slushy, she said. Listen, all you can hear is dripping. Water dripping from the trees and dripping from the houses. She stuck out her arm to block my path and stop me from walking. We listened in silence to the dripping sounds. It's deafening, isn't it? Lily asked, smiling, the sunlight reflecting in her eyes. One blue eye and one green eye. Deafening.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Deafening, I repeated. Lily can be pretty weird sometimes. She once told me that she writes poetry, long poems about nature, but she's never shown any of them to me. God, what a homo not fucking sharing this extremely intimate thing she likes writing about.
Yeah, it's fucking gay. Who does that?
We trudged through the slush. The sun felt warm on my face. I unzipped my parka. Manny's house came into view as we turned the corner. Manny lives on a square-shaped brick house on the top of the hill. It's a great sledding hill. There were 2 little kids sledding down it now on blue plastic discs. They were going pretty slow since the snow had melted. Idiots. We walked past them and made our way up to Manny's front stoop. Lily rang the doorbell and I knocked. Hey, Manny! Open up! I shouted. No sounds at all. Just the drip, drip, drip of water from the gutter. Hey, Manny! I called. We rang and knocked again. No one home, Lily said quietly. She stepped off the stoop and moved to the front window. Edging up on her tiptoes, she tried to peer in. See anything? I called. She shook her head. No, the sun is reflecting on the glass. It looks dark inside. There's no car in the driveway, I said. I knocked one more time as hard as I could. To my surprise, the front door swung in a little. Hey, is that door open? I called to Lily. She hurried back to the stoop. I pushed the door open a little further. It is open. Anyone home? I called in. No reply. Hey, the door is open, I shouted. Lily pushed the door all the way, and we stepped inside. Manny? She called, cupping her hands around her mouth. Manny! I stepped into the living room and gasped. I tried to speak, but I couldn't.
What did he see? Tell me what he saw. Tell me what he saw. What did he see?
I couldn't believe what I saw.
Oh, he saw chapter 16.
Yep.
Come on, R.L. Stine. Why you gotta do this? Why you gotta do this to me, R.L. Stine? Lily grabbed my arm as we both stared around the living room. The room was totally bare. No furniture. No curtains. No paintings or posters on the wall. Even the carpet had been removed, leaving shiny, dark floorboards. Where did they go? I managed to choke out. The horror.
The horror.
Of nothing. It's so scary. There's
I'm
nothing.
Terrified, Pigeon. Please hold me. I can feel myself fading.
Don't fucking touch me.
Just read the damn book.
Lily made her way through the back hall to the empty kitchen. Everything gone. An empty hole where the refrigerator had stood. They moved, Lily exclaimed. I don't believe it. But why didn't Manny tell us? I demanded, my eyes moving around the deserted room. Why didn't he tell us his family was moving away? Lily shook her head and didn't reply. The house was silent. I could hear water dripping from the gutter outside. Maybe they had to move suddenly, Lily said. Suddenly? Why? I demanded. It was a question that neither of us could answer. I love to run. What a fucking segue. We didn't know why our friend moved. I really like running. No, it's straight up, like straight up.
Oh,
there's like line,
God.
like empty line, and then I love to run.
Good.
Not when I'm running from snarling dogs, but I do love to run. I like the way it gets my heart pounding, and I like the thud of my sneakers on the ground and the feeling of my muscles all working together. On Saturday mornings, I like to go jogging with my dad. He always jogs at Miller Woods along a path that curves around a small lake. It's really pretty there. The air is always fresh smelling, and it's a very quiet place. Dad is tall and lean and pretty athletic. He used to be blonde like me, but now his hair is mostly gray, and he has a big bald spot on top. He jogs every morning before work. I think he usually jogs pretty fast.
Oh my God, Larry, shut up.
But on Saturdays, he
Larry,
slows
shut
down
up.
so that we can run side by side. We usually jog without talking. That way we can concentrate on the scenery and the fresh air. But this Saturday morning, I felt like talking. I decided to tell Dad everything. About the bottle of Instatan, about the black hair that kept sprouting. As I talked, I kept my eyes straight ahead. I saw 2 big crows float down from the clear blue sky and perch side by side on the bare limb of a tree. The crows cawed loudly, as if talking to us.
Caw. Oh, they must be talking to me.
The lake sparkled brightly as Dad and I followed the curving path around it. Small patches of ice bobbed in the blue-green water. I started at the beginning and told the whole story. Dad slowed down a little more to listen, but we kept jogging as I talked. I told him about finding the bottle of tanning lotion and how we all splashed it on ourselves as a joke. Dad nodded but kept his eyes straight ahead. I guess it didn't work, he said, sounding a little breathless from running. You don't look too tan, Larry. No, it didn't work, I continued. The bottle was really old, Dad. It had expired a long time ago.
A long time ago.
I took it, well, it was 3 years.
I know.
I took a deep breath. The next part was the hardest to tell. It didn't give me a tan, Dad, but something really weird started happening to me. He kept jogging. We both leaped over a fallen tree branch. I slipped over a pile of wet leaves, but quickly caught my balance. This weird hair started growing on me, I told him in a shaky voice. First on the back of my hands, then on both hands, then on my knees. Dad stopped. He turned to me with a worried expression on his face. Hair? I nodded, breathing hard. Black hair, thick clumps of it, very rough and spiky. Dad swallowed hard. His eyes grew wide. With surprise, with fear, with disbelief. Oh my God. I couldn't tell. But to my surprise, he grabbed my arm and started to pull me. Come on, Larry, we've got to go. But Dad, I started holding back. He tightened his grip and pulled harder. I said, we've got to go, he insisted through gritted teeth. Now. He tugged so hard he nearly pulled me off my feet. Dad, what's wrong? I demanded in a high, shrill voice. What is it? He didn't answer. He pulled me back along the path towards the street. His eyes were wild. His whole face was twisted into a tight, frightened scowl. Dad, what's wrong? I cried. Where are you taking me? Where?
Pigeon, don't do this to me.
I'll fucking do whatever I want. You deal with it. You deal with it. You fucking deal with it.
Dr. Merkin raised a hypodermic needle and examined it in the light.
I'm sorry, Dr. Who?
Dr. Merkin.
Yeah, that guy again?
Dr. Merkin.
Yep.
Dr. Merkin.
So if none of you know, you should Google. You should Google Merkin.
Don't do it at work.
No, do not.
Don't do it at work. Dr. Merkin raised the hypodermic needle and examined it in the light. Turn away, Larry, he said softly. I know you don't like to watch. This won't hurt at all. Pain shot through my arm as the needle sank in. I shut my eyes, held my breath, until he pulled out the needle. I know it's early, he said, rubbing my arm with a cotton ball dipped in alcohol, but since you're here, I thought I'd give you a shot. My dad sat tensely in the folding chair against the wall in the small examining room. He had his arms crossed tightly on the front of his sweatshirt. What about the hair? I stammered to Dr. Merkin. Did the Instatan? The doctor shook his head. I really don't think the tanning hair lotion can cause hair to grow, Larry. The lotion bottles work on pigments of the skin. But it was a really old bottle, I insisted. Maybe the ingredients turned sour or something. He waved his hand as if to say, no way. Then he turned and started scribbling notes in my file. I'm sorry, Larry. He wrote rapidly in tiny handwriting. It wasn't the tanning lotion. Trust me. He turned his head to me, his eyes studying me. I've examined you from head to foot. You passed every test. You seem fine to me. Phew, what a relief, Dad said, sighing. But the hair, I insisted. Let's wait and see, Dr. Merkin replied, his eyes on my dad. Wait and see, I cried. You're not going to give me medicine or anything to stop it? Maybe it won't happen again, Dr. Merkin said. He closed my file. Then he motioned for me to jump down from the examining table. Try not to worry, Larry, he said, handing my coat to me. You'll be okay. Thank you, Dr. Merkin, Dad said, climbing to his feet. He flashed at Doctor a smile, but I could see that it was forced. Dad still looked really tense. I followed Dad to the parking lot. We didn't say anything until we were out in the car and on the way home. Feel better? Dad asked. His eyes narrowed straight ahead on the road. No, I replied glumly. What's wrong? Dad asked me impatiently. Dr. Merkin said you checked out fine. What about the ugly black hair? I demanded angrily. What about it? Why didn't he do anything about it? Do you think he didn't believe me? I'm sure he believed you, Dad said softly. Then why didn't he do anything to stop me? I wailed. Help me. Why didn't he do anything to help me? I wailed. Dad didn't reply for the longest time. He stared straight ahead through the windshield, chewing his lower lip. Then finally he said in a hushed tone, Sometimes the best thing is to wait. We met at Lily's house for band practice that afternoon. We sounded pretty good, but it wasn't the same without Manny. We were all really upset that he had moved away without saying goodbye. Lily asked her mom to call some friends who were friendly with Manny's parents. She wanted to find out where Manny and his family had moved. But the friends turned out to be as surprised as we were. We couldn't find anyone who knew Manny's family had moved on from town. I have to admit that our song sounded better with 2 guitars instead of 3.
Few things sound better with more guitars.
Lily has a very light singing voice, not much power, and the 3 guitars always drowned her out. With Manny gone, we could actually hear Lily some of the time.
You know what I'm imagining?
What?
The Armada.
Fuck the Armada. Fuck it.
What, you didn't think 5 guitars was a good idea?
No. Fuck you, fucking what's-your-face. I kept messing up the Beatles song as we were rehearsing. I Want to Hold Your Hand. I played the wrong chords and couldn't get the rhythm right. Okay, whatever. I knew what the trouble was. I couldn't stop thinking about Dr. Merkin and how he didn't believe me about the hair. He said it wasn't the Incitan. Maybe he was wrong. I felt so angry and so alone. I glanced around Lily's living room as we started I Want to Hold Your Hand for the 20th time. I studied my hands. Were they having the same problem? Were they growing ugly black hair too? Afraid to tell anybody? The first time I had asked, Lily laughed at me and called me Harry Larry. But I had to ask again. I couldn't think about anything else. I had to know the truth. I waited till practice was over. Christina was tucking her guitar into its case. Jared went into the kitchen and get a Coke from the fridge. Lily was standing beside the couch, one hand twirling the gold pirate coin at her throat. I have to ask you something, I said nervously when Jared returned to the room. He popped the top of the can and a spray of Coke hit him in the face. Everyone laughed. Can't you work a Coke can? Lily joked. Do you need an instruction book? Ha ha, Jared replied sarcastically, wiping his face with his sleeve. You deliberately shook the cans, Lily, so you could get people squirted. Admit it. Christina laughed as she snapped her guitar case shut. Maybe you should just stick to juice boxes, Jared. He stuck his tongue out at her. I cleared my throat loudly. I want to ask you guys something, I repeated in a shaky voice. They were all in a great mood, laughing and kidding around. They seemed totally normal. Remember the Instatan stuff I started? Have any of you been growing hair since we put that stuff on? I could feel my face turning red. I mean, ugly patches of black hair? Jared started to laugh. Coke spurted out of his nose. He started to choke. Christina hurried to slap him on the back. Harry Larry! Jared cried when he stopped choking. He pointed the Coke can at me and started chanting, Harry Larry, Harry Larry. Come on, guys, I pleaded. I'm serious. And that made Christina and Jared laugh even more. I turned to Lily, who was still standing beside the couch. She had a troubled expression on her face. She definitely wasn't laughing. She lowered her eyes to the floor as I continued to stare at her. Larry's a werewolf, Jared declared. I hope the geeks don't have to play when there's a full moon, Christina said. Maybe Larry's howling is better than his guitar playing. They both laughed. I was just making a joke, I stammered. I want the hole, I wanted the floor to open up a hole so that I could disappear into it.
Fuck, Larry, you emo piece of shit.
I'm not the only one, I realized. I'm not the only one growing the ugly hair. That's why Jared and Christina thought it was funny. It wasn't happening to them, but they didn't know about it. But Lily wasn't joining in with the jokes. She turned away and started picking up the music sheets from the floor and straightening the room. Lily always enjoys teasing me and making me blush. I stared at her, wondering if she had the same secret I did. I packed up my guitar and waited for Jared and Christina to leave. Then I put on my baseball cap and followed Lily to the front door. On the front stoop, I turned back to her. Lily, tell me the truth, I insisted. Have you been growing weird patches of black hair on your hands and knees? She hesitated, chewing her bottom lip. I don't want to talk about it, she replied in a whisper. Then she slammed the front door. I didn't move from the concrete stoop. I pictured her troubled expression. I kept hearing her voice. Was it happening to Lily? If it was, why wouldn't she admit it to me? Was she too embarrassed? Or was she embarrassed for me? Maybe it wasn't happening to her, I realized. Maybe she just thinks I'm crazy. Maybe she feels bad because I keep acting like such a jerk. Feeling totally confused, I turned and headed into the street. The sun was still high in the sky, but the air felt cold. A sharp wind blew at my face, and I started toward home. Leaning into the wind, I reached up and tugged my cap down to keep it from blowing away. To my surprise, I couldn't pull it down. The cap suddenly felt tight. Too tight. I removed it and held it close to my face to study it. Had someone adjusted the back to make it tighter? No. A chill ran down my back as I raised my hand to my forehead and discovered why my cap didn't fit. My entire forehead was covered in thick, bristly hair.
Dun, dun, dun. You handed me this book upside down.
Sorry.
I burst through the back door into the kitchen. Mom, look at this! I cried. Look at my head! My eyes darted around the room. Mom? Not there. I ran through the house, calling for her. I decided it was time to show my parents what was happening to me. Time to make them believe me. The stripe of hair would totally gross them out. It would finally convince them that this was serious. Mom? Dad? Anyone home? No. But it just
says no.
It's just no. When I returned to the kitchen, I found a note on the refrigerator. We went shopping in Brooksdale Village all night. Fix yourself a snack. All caps.
Well, okay, I see.
With a cry of disgust, I tossed my cap across the room. Then I pulled off my parka and let it fall to the floor. What a piece of shit kid. Just throws his fucking snow clothes all over the place. My heart pounding. I made my way to the mirror in the front hall and I studied myself. I looked like some kind of comic book mutant.
What?
My pale face stared back at me. It appeared exactly the same, except that I had a thick black stripe of fur across my forehead. Looks like I'm wearing a bandana, I thought miserably. Like one of those headbands that skiers wear. Except this one is made of disgusting hair. I ran a trembling hand over the thick hair. My chest heaved up and down. I felt like crying and screaming furiously at the same time. I felt like grabbing the stripe of fur and ripping it out of my head. I couldn't bear to look at myself. The hair was so gross, so disgusting. I decided there was no way I could wait for Mom and Dad to get home. I couldn't leave that horrible hair on my face. Spinning away from the mirror, I ran upstairs to shave it off. I lather up the strip of hair with shaving cream. Then I began to scrape my dad's razor over it. Ow! It hurt, but I didn't care. I had to cut it off. Every thick, bristly strand of it. Watching the hair fall into the sink, I suddenly knew what I had to do. I had to find the Instatan bottle. I had to find it and take it to Dr. Merkin.
Wow, you actually, thought of a plan.
If I bring him the bottle, I can make him believe me, I told myself. Then Dr. Merkin can do tests on it. He can figure out why it's making hair grow on me. And once he knows that it's the Instatan that's growing hair, Dr. Merkin will give me a cure, I decided. But where did we toss the bottle? I shut my eyes and struggled to remember. After I discovered the bottle, we had all run into Lily's house to splash the stuff on. Then we had gone back outside to mess around in the snow. Did we toss the Instatan bottle back in the trash dumpster next door? No, you didn't, you piece of shit. You just idly discarded it wherever the fuck you wanted. I had to find out. I scribbled a note to my parents, telling them I left something at Lily's and would be back soon. Then I grabbed my coat and hurried out the door. The air had become a lot colder. Clouds had rolled over the sun, making the evening sky gray. I zipped up my parka and pulled the hood over my head. My forehead still tingled from where I had shaved it. The 3 blocks to Lily's house seemed like 3 miles. As I turned the corner, her house came into view. I didn't want her to see me, I realized. She sees me poking around the trash dumpster. She'll want to know why. And I'm not ready to tell her the whole story. She wouldn't tell me the truth, I thought bitterly. Instead, she slammed the door on me. So I'm not ready to tell her the truth either. I felt glad that it had become so dark. Maybe Lily wouldn't see me. I kept my eyes on her house as I approached. The lights were on in the dining room. Maybe her family was having an early dinner. Good, I thought. I'll dig into the trash dumpster, pull out the bottle, and disappear before they finish. Before anyone has a chance to glance out the window. I stopped short when I saw there was just one little problem. The trash dumpster was gone!
Dun dun dun. Is dumpster still capitalized?
Yeah, every time it's capitalized.
Weird.
Somehow dumpster has become a proper noun. The workers must have hauled it away. I let out a long sigh and nearly slumped to my knees. Now what? I murmured out loud. Now how do I prove to Dr. Merkin that the Instatan is making me grow hair? The cold wind swirled around me as I stared at the curb where the dumpster had stood. Fat brown leaves blown by the twisting wind fluttered around my legs. I shivered. Turning to leave, a memory flashed through my mind. The Instatan bottle. We hadn't dropped it back in the dumpster. We had tossed it into the woods on the other side of the neighbor's house, like littering little pieces of shit. Yes, I cried happily. Yes! I'm just having flashbacks to that episode of Clone High where friggin' Ponce de Leon gets strangled by litter.
Good.
We had chased each other across the neighbor's yard, and I'd heaved the bottle into the trees. It'll still be there, I told myself. It has to be there. I darted past Lily's house, glancing up at the front windows. I couldn't see anyone looking out. Past the neighbor's house, dark and empty, the remodeling work not finished. Into the woods, the dead leaves wet and slippery under my shoes. What? Okay, that was 2 sentences. Sentence 1, into the woods. Sentence 2, the dead leaves wet and slippery under my shoes.
Oh.
The bare tree branches shook and rattled in the shifting, sharp wind. Where had the bottle landed, I asked myself. Where? It hadn't gone far, I remembered. Just past the first trees. It had to be nearby, I knew. Somewhere near where I stood. A blanket of deep shadow had fallen over the woods. I kicked at a pile of dead leaves. My shoe hit something hard. Bending quickly, I tossed away the leaves with both hands. Only a tree branch. I moved deeper into the woods, pushing my way through clumps of tall, dead weeds. I stopped. It has to be around here, I knew. My eyes desperately searched the shadows. There it is! No, just a smooth stone. I kicked it away. Then I turned slowly, making a complete circle, my eyes sweeping the dark ground. Where is the bottle? Where? I sucked in my breath when I heard the sound. The crack of a twig. I listened hard. I heard the crackle of leaves. The brush of a leg against a winter-dry shrub. Another twig cracking. Swallowing hard, I realized I was no longer alone. Who's there? I called.